So for this project, I took a 10 by 20 canvas and painted it blue. And when it wasn't quite dry yet, I took a bowl of water and I brushed on water to make it real wet. And then I took the Krylon Looking Glass Silver spray paint and sprayed that from top to bottom, and then used the brush to brush it on and off till I got the look that I wanted to achieve. And I actually painted two of these canvases. The second one is a little darker blue because I ran out of the blue, the first blue that I painted. So I ended up with two canvases for this project. I used Ashland Decorative Filler Blue. Each container is 15.5 ounces. I used a total of 1.5 containers, about 23 ounces. I dumped it out on the canvas and formed a Christmas tree. This one I decided was going to be a bling Christmas tree instead of like my last project, which was a beachy themed Christmas tree. And the only reason I'm doing this video separate from the other one is because I ran into a big problem with the resin, and I just wanted to show you what happened. Anyway, I had a little bracelet that I had picked up at a garage sale, and I decided I wanted to use the faux diamonds for the tree trunk, and I also took it apart so that I could take I had like about 20 extra of the faux diamonds, and I took them and I stuck them in the Christmas tree too to add a little extra bling. I apologize for this portion of the video. I don't know what the heck I did, but it's, I guess, the camera's turned the other way and locked, but the rest of the video goes on. There we go, we're right side up again. So I found a cute little brooch at the thrift store, and I put that at the top for the star. And those little stars that I found on the side were actually a little girl's headband, snowflake headband, that I got from Walmart, and I just pulled the little snowflakes off. I thought they were real pretty. So everything's ready for resin now, and I'm using the last of the Dr. Crafty resin that I had. Whenever I use resin, I wear gloves and I use a respirator. It's in your best interest to use a respirator and do it in a well-ventilated area. This is Dr. Crafty resin is a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part resin to 1 part hardener in equal amounts. Once you get them in the same container, you mix them slowly for 2 to 3 minutes. The slower you mix it, the less bubbles you get. You should scrape the sides and the bottom as you do it. When you first pour the two into the container, it appears clear. As you start to mix it, it becomes cloudy. And when you're done mixing it and it's ready to pour, it turns clear again. So I use the spoon to kind of divvy it up over the top of the glass, crushed glass first. I want to make sure it gets on there. And then I start spreading it around the perimeter. Now, when I've been watching some videos, and everybody's saying that you don't need a lot of resin, you can just use a little bit of resin, you shouldn't have it dripping over the sides, you can just smooth it around with your finger and that's enough, you don't need to have it real thick. So I tried not to put that much on this time, so I really tried smoothing it around with my finger and not having that much drip off the side like I usually do. And as a result, I ended up with some problems. Well, then I put the snowflakes back on, and I had some other crushed glass that I put at the bottom. And I think it looks real pretty. So when it was done, I let it dry for 24 hours on a flat surface at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's the result of putting little resin on. Can you see how uneven it is and spotty it is? Oh my gosh. So I decided I was going to fix it. I'd seen some people who actually take tape and put it around the entire canvas, and it forms like a frame around it, a reservoir for it to sit on. And that's kind of what I'm used to with the glass, because when I do it on glass, it actually has a frame around it that it, and it can't run off the side. So what I did was I went ahead and mixed up resin like before. This time all I had was the Total Boat resin, and this is another thing that's new to me. So that's what I started out with, was Total Boat resin, and then I used like 7 other resins in between, and I always say they're pretty much the same 1-to-1 ratios, these craft resins. But I did notice with this Total Boat resin, when I went back to this, I had quite a few more bubbles than any of the other resins. And even though I would mix them and you would see bubbles in the container, after I poured them, there was still very few on the canvas. So many times I didn't even have to use a heat gun on the canvas. But this Total Boat resin had many, many, many bubbles, and I had to use the heat gun. But it is a thicker resin, I feel like, so I kind of like it because it's so thick, you know, for on the canvases. So this is the heat gun I use. It has a low and a high setting. I always put it to the low setting so it doesn't blow the resin or the glass all over the place. And then on the back is the temperature setting, and I always set it around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. It can take up to 5 minutes to blow the all the bubbles out. And like I said, this Total Boat resin has significantly more bubbles than any of those other resins that I was using. The other ones just seem to mainly dissipate on their own, but this Total Boat resin really has a lot of bubbles. So then I let it set at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit on a level surface for 2 hours, and then I removed the tape. But if I had to do it again, I would leave the tape on for maybe an hour to an hour and a half because it had almost gelled too much. So I ended up with a bunch of resin left, so I decided to go ahead and use the other canvas that I had already painted. And this time I started by putting the tape around the perimeter, and then I used some crushed glass to form the Christmas tree. Now this crushed glass is much finer than the blue glass I used for the previous Christmas tree. I put some broken glass at the bottom and mixed up the resin as usual and poured it over the crushed glass and then around the perimeter. And again, a lot of bubbles with the Total Boat resin, so I ended up using the heat gun, as I had explained earlier. And then I had some half pearls, and I used that to form the tree trunk. And I had a star for the top and some little snowflakes to put along the edges. The top was actually a brooch that I had picked up at a garage sale. And this I set at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees on a level surface, and after 2 hours I removed the tape, and again I should have removed it after 1 to 1.5 hours. Okay, so now after all that, here it is, and it really turned out nice. That's what I'm going to do from now on, is tape around the perimeter so I don't have to worry about it. But I think it really turned out nice. It covered up all the low spots, and I just can't get over it, and how easy that was just to re-pour resin. And it was a totally different resin. Love it. And then this is the other one. And the only thing that I can say about this is this smaller glass that's on here is you really have to make sure you cover it good because a bunch of them have been dropping off. So I think that turned out kind of cute too. It's okay. I wished I would have had more time to plan it. I kind of did it in a hurry because I had that resin that was left over and I didn't want to waste it. But yeah, I think they both turned out really cute. What do you guys think? Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you soon. I'm going to be making a bunch of more Christmas videos. I know it seems kind of early, but Christmas is just around the corner.